Hey, what's going on, everybody? We just meeting up with this guy right here at the TA. We're sitting at the TA in Seville, Ohio, trashing around, working on the truck a little bit. And this is Daniel here. He's a subscriber, and he's got a story he's been wanting me to tell for a while now. But I'm like, this would be way better coming from your mouth than mine, because you kind of lived it and experienced it. So you bought a truck, right? You bought what'd you buy, a 2015?
I bought a 2016 International Lone Star from Aero Truck Sales out of, where was that? Illinois, not just south of Illinois. It was in Missouri, I think.
Oh, okay. I thought you bought that in New Hampshire.
No, it was. Yeah, there's no Aero Truck Sales in New Hampshire.
Oh, okay. So we but incidentally, this video is just for informational purposes and merely our opinion. So
it'd be more my opinion.
Yeah, more his opinion. I got nothing to do with it.
I need to get treated for third-degree burns on this one.
Yeah. So now you bought the truck, pretty decent price on it. I mean, you worked a deal on it, but you bought an extended warranty, right?
Right. So I bought the warranty that I bought cost me an extra $11,000 to have it put on. Then
was that through International, or was that like a third party one?
That's a third party through Aero Truck Sales. I forget the exact people it was, but basically it's unless the engine falls apart and something happens internally, like the metal breaks, that's pretty much the only time they're going to cover anything. If anything leaks, any gaskets, nothing like that. Any injectors go.
Well, internal, right? They said they don't cover external leaks. Only
right.
Internal,
yeah,
so
only internal leaks.
Not a whole lot of things that are going to leak internally, unless maybe a head gasket.
Coolant, into the cracked.
Okay.
Whatever. So, yeah. So it wasn't. And then so I first got the truck. I didn't drive it very far, and it's new to me. So you gotta, and it's used. And then I kind of went through the truck a little bit when I was at the thing. I noticed a leak on the motor, and it was the air compressor fuel pump gasket where it goes on the motor. And there was a dealer next door, and I had them change that out, and that cost me $2,000, and I hadn't even gone 30 feet in the truck, really. I drove it across the yard and put my stuff in it, and that was it. So I'm already $2,000 in the hole, plus the $10,000 that I put down on it.
So that now the $2,000, that was covered under warranty, right?
No.
Yeah. So this $11,000 warranty, what exactly does it cover?
Internal leaks.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So lesson number one, warranties don't always exactly.
Right. You really need to go over the warranty with a fine-tooth comb. And they swindled me, and they know they did, but it's my fault for not.
Well, we're not picking on you. We're just saying, this can happen to anybody.
I should have. I'm glad this is a learning thing for me, and I tell everybody the same thing now. Like it's a learning curve for me,
right.
And I won't do it again. That's for sure. I didn't go very far with the truck. I grabbed a load of beer somewhere, and I took it, and I didn't go far, and I just was crawling underneath it, and I noticed the front differential was leaking, and I kind of got underneath there and looked, and the bolts were actually coming out of the differential.
Oh, jeez.
So there was a shop next door, and I went over and I told the guy, I said, hey, explained my thing. I said, I've gone like 200 miles with this truck, and I explained the issue, and I said, can you send somebody over with a wrench or something? And I really don't want to pay roadside service, but
right.
I paid the guy $20. He was cool. He came over, tightened it up, checked the fluid level. We were good to go. But I tried to get a hold of, and once you leave the yard with this, you'll never get a hold of these guys ever again unless it's through text message. I'm not even kidding. They won't pick up their phone for anything, especially if they know that there's something wrong.
Well, they'll text though, right?
No, they'll text, because I asked the guy, I said, good evening. I said, is there any owner's manual with the truck? And he says, no, whatever.
He's going to read this right off his phone from the conversation he had with the truck salesman. Okay?
The guy the truck salesman. And he said, no, whatever the truck has. And I said, well, there's no books in here. And he said, no. And I said, sweet. And he said, be happy you're alive. So.
Okay, now be happy you're alive. Now, you could take that a lot of different ways. Number one, you could be like, oh, be happy you're alive. The world sucks. It's a terrible place. Just be happy you're alive. Or it could be like, be happy you're alive because the truck we sold you is such a rolling heap of junk that I'm surprised you didn't die in it yet. So just, be happy you're alive and you haven't died in the truck yet, right?
Right. I mean, they wouldn't even like call the warranty place to even see if they could help out. Like, hey, how can I help out? We know you just spent $85,000 here. Is there anything I can do to help you? There was none of that. So,
so I would go out on a limb here and say you're not quite. I'm taking a guess here. Maybe not satisfied with the level of service.
No,
you got
I'm not.
From this dealer,
There was a lot of stuff that didn't happen. I mean, I could like like I used to be a mechanic, so I'm a little bit up on my stuff. Like I took off the battery box, and they actually had the battery box was just covered in corrosion underneath all the terminals, and they actually had wood jammed in underneath the terminals to keep it from arcing out on the battery box.
Wow.
So I was like, that has to be fixed,
right.
And then there was a problem up on the engine, and they said they would take care of that. Arrow did when I was getting the other part of the engine fixed. That cost Arrow $2,400 for them to diagnose that check engine light, which is good because they deserve that.
Yeah. But like that battery box thing with the wood in there to keep it from arcing out, that's kind of like a DOT thing where it really shouldn't pass DOT inspection, but yet I'm assuming that they sold it to you, with a DOT sticker on it saying you're probably good to go, right?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what they did.
Yeah. So that's a little shady right there, and that's the kind of thing that indicates maybe there might be some more shady things that they do or don't do for that matter.
Right. I mean, I probably should have went a little bit further into it. I mean, it had good tires. The brakes were good. Something that they never did touch was the air filters. It takes a little bit to dig into the air filters. And it used to be an old Celadon truck. And that was another thing. They would not tell me who was the prior owner of it.
Right.
And because I wanted to maybe contact them and find out, hey, this truck number was in your fleet. Do you happen to have a maintenance record on it?
Right.
What I tried to get, and they were like, no, we can't give you the old owner's information. So I called International and I said, hey, I just bought this truck. Is there any recalls on this truck? And she goes, no. And I said, well, who owned that truck prior? And she's like, Celadon owned it. So if you ever have a truck and you want to know if it has recalls and you buy a used one, just call Freightliner, International, whoever.
Right.
Give them the serial number. They'll see if there's any recalls on it and ask them who owned it initially.
And the reason that can be important is, it's good to know their maintenance practices. And, like Celadon, buying it from the truck that was owned by Celadon, maybe you don't want to buy a truck from a company that's on their way out of business or in financial trouble, because one of the first things they're going to cut is maintenance and cut corners on maintenance and say, oh, we can just keep the truck running, it's about to get traded in, so that's can be kind of helpful to know. And then there's fleets, that you'd be proud to take a truck from, and they do a really good job on.
So it's so far this year, since June, and it's now November. I probably personally have in maintenance in that truck close to probably $12,000 to $15,000.
Okay.
So
right. For a newer truck, that's pretty high. How many miles are on this truck?
There was 276,000 when I got it, just over.
And what you bought it in what? This year, right? May of this year.
May.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of maintenance for a truck with low miles like that.
Right.
I'd expect that out of my truck. Where I'm pushing 1 million miles, but for a newer truck like that, it's and plus there were some problems with the engine fan and
the engine the engine fan wouldn't shut off, and I changed out a pressure switch, and it still wouldn't shut off. And I contacted this guy, and he was talking about the AC high pressure switch. And so I went and I had that changed out, and then it worked fine.
Kind of buggy still.
Yeah, yeah, to act up the other day. I had to have a good long talk with it, but
yeah, you got kind of a rat's nest of wiring where the dealer, that thing you're talking about with the $2,400 that they fixed, they really did work kind of like, looks like a third grader did it, where there's this clump of wiring. What happened was a fan belt broke and it grabbed a bunch of wiring and kind of ripped it out prior to you owning the truck.
right, yeah.
And them piecing it back together, it's not exactly the level of work you would expect from a dealer.
No.
So there could be some electronic glitches here and there with that.
Right. Yeah. So so other than like the differential, there's some things are just gonna wear out because there's just a lot of miles on the truck. You know.
Right.
I'm always loaded pretty much heavy. I just changed out leaf spring bushings. I put brand new shocks on it, torsion rods in the back.
Now you went to T&E Tire down in Kansas City.
Down in Kansas City.
Anything you want to say about them with the level of service?
Awesome. T&E Tire, highly recommend them. Awesome people. They get you in. They'll do your bushings. They did my rear leaf spring bushings, my shocks, torsion bars, and some of this stuff I could have done myself, but I don't have the tools and the time to do it. And that cost me $2,400 to have them do that, increase the truck. And then I brought the truck directly next door, the next bay over. There's a guy over there named Chad, and he does an alignment. Yep. And my truck quit pulling to the right. It was amazing the amount of shims that they took out of the ass end of that truck, and Chad only put one shim back in it. Everything's aligned perfectly. Well worth it. Every penny was well worth it.
It's a great shop, and Chad's he's the only alignment guy that I let touch my alignments, and he does a great job. Highly recommend that down in Kansas City.
Yeah, T&E Tire, they're a good group of guys too. They're very proficient in
no nonsense.
No nonsense. They don't take their time. They really pull through it and get it done correctly, and neat operation that they have there. Parking's a little tight, but
yeah, the yard's a little bit of a mess, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
So.
But so yeah, I spent $2,700 on that, which is just shocks wear out,
right?
Bushings wear out,
wear and tear issues. Yeah.
You know, so and then back in August, I had him go through the truck. I had him drain all the differentials oils out. I had him drain the transmission oil out, refill it up with fresh oil, the clutch oil. I did have a wheel seal go up on the front end, and so I said, well, while you're in there doing the right side, do the left side. And then they were doing something else up front during that other one, and they said, oh, your S-cam bushings are bad. So they ended up putting in wheel seals again.
Okay. And
did S-cam bushings, and
yeah. Now when discovered that through the process of doing regular maintenance, that truck was probably a truck that worked in some kind of a capacity there. It would have had some PTO time on it.
Yeah,
maybe
blower.
like a wet kit or something.
Yeah.
And was it when you pulled the air filters out, they were like packed full of...
Oh, it was just disgusting.
Like fly ash or
the
concrete.
Engine air filters were so bad. If you ever get a truck, I would suggest checking your engine air filters, because those in that Lone Star cost me $350.
Yeah.
For the pair.
It's amazing the truck ran, because it was like, if you go to a hardware store and get a bag of Quickcrete, it's like somebody dumped Quickcrete powder in your air filters, and it just didn't get wet enough to turn it to concrete yet. It must have been like some kind of ash or some kind of mining operation. Maybe it was down in Texas, I don't know, but it was pretty bad. I saw the video you sent me.
It was terrible. What else was there? Yeah, it's just the little ins and outs. It seems like something happens every week. I had to go through and change out a bunch of the air lines underneath, the air fittings that go to the air tanks, because every single one of them leaked on the back, and I just got done changing all those out, and then I picked up 2 new leaks, and then we just did an airbag today on another air leak. So now that we fixed that, I'm sure something else will pop up. Seems like every time you apply a little more air pressure somewhere else.
Well, that happens. It's just it's not the kind of wear I would expect on a truck with only, less than 300,000 miles.
Yeah,
on it,
I
really.
don't.
But I guess kind of the moral of the story is when you're buying a truck, you do the best you can with inspections. You obviously can't inspect it all, but you can't take anybody's, especially the dealer's word for it.
Never.
And because they're just going to put it through their, make it look good and get it out the door. And even to say that, it's DOT inspected it's really poor on their part, because they're held to a certain standard to do DOT inspections, and then to just cover things up and shove it out the door that's shady. It really is shady. I mean, there's plenty of reputable dealers out there. Just had a bad experience with this one and wanted to make sure and get the story out there. Do you remember what town that was in Missouri?
I don't. It's right across the border from Illinois. It's
Okay.
as soon as you cross the border, it's like right there.
St. Louis type area?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they called it the St. Louis one, but it's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not very
Okay.
far over there, but yeah, I would. If anybody needs to get into something like that, though, I would definitely say stay away from aero truck sales, in my opinion, because of the way that I was.
It's a matter of opinion. We're just
the
sharing
way that I was
personal experience.
shared with. I really wanted to maybe introduce that truck into their break room, at one time or another, because I was just getting so aggravated. But I've been just taking what's most important to keep the truck running up and safely, and just picking away at stuff as I go. And
Yeah.
I have made a lot of money with the truck, so it just.
Good. Now this guy right here, also, we talk a lot about on the channel about hustling and side income and stuff, and this guy right here, Daniel, is got a lot of that type of stuff going on. So we just wanted to talk briefly about that too. Is it whatever you feel comfortable with?
Yeah, I just I actually.
What you're doing now and what you're getting into and going forward with.
So I was a company driver for a long time, and then I went out and I rented a truck from January up until June this year, $1,400 a week, and I said, that's enough of that, because that's costing me too much money.
Yeah.
So then I went out and bought my money pit on wheels.
But you're still better off than $1,400 a week.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. But so what I actually did was I opened up my own brokerage, and I'm going to start brokering freight here in the next couple weeks.
And your own authority too, right?
Yeah, I have my own authority. Okay. So it'll be called Cavalry, Cavalry Trucking, not Cavalry Logistics, because there is a Cavalry Logistics.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. Yeah.
So it's going to be Cavalry Trucking, and
we'll watch for you on the DAT load board and stuff.
Yeah, we're going to be out there.
And you talk a little bit about how you're going to do things and paying the guys.
So that's another thing with the brokerage. As a truck driver, I know what it's like to feel the suffering and the pain, and I know what it's like when you get, let's say 400 or 500 trucks in an area, and there's only 200 or 300 loads going out, and they say that they can mark it down. Well, I'm going to try to get everybody the minimum at least $2 a mile, and that is door to door. Not it's going to be what do they call it?
Short household goods or whatever.
No. They call it yeah. There's actual miles and practical miles, where they just do it from zip code to zip code. I'm going to do it door to door, and I'm going to try to get everybody paid either that day or that week on Friday.
Now that's some people may hear $2 a mile and say, well, that ain't enough. But you're in New Hampshire, right?
Yeah.
And anybody who hauls up there looking for loads, that's a pretty good rate out of the northeast, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, Mass, Connecticut,
Well, that's a minimum of $2.
Okay.
I won't go under $2 a mile.
Okay.
Just so we know, I'm not trying to be cheap and get out of it for too much. But
just market is what the market is.
Because the market is because the brokers are trying to, like I say, and they can make that money. The load, they're getting the same amount of money to save, but they're just screwing us over.
Right.
So basically, I'm going to cut that out and go straight to the, we're going to make a difference. We're going to change the trucking industry one load at a time.
Good. I wish you all the best with that. It's whenever somebody's trying to, make a difference, you always want to support that.
Well, everybody's excuse is, well, that's the trucking industry. Well, a lot of things change in the world, and there's no reason that we need to be treated the way that we're treated. We need to step up, take care of ourselves, and take care of each other,
Right.
So.
Right. Well, good. That's great to hear. And on the trucking side of it, are you looking for employees or any owner operators or anything, or do you know, if you ever want to come back on and promote any of that, you're welcome to.
Yeah, so we are going to take on, we got one guy that's going to come over, he's going to lease on to me. And we're going to start, I know him, you know, he's been driving for years.
Okay.
So I wouldn't just take anybody on blindly. But yeah, we're going to start taking on drivers. I just hired a dispatcher. She's going to be able to help with that, so.
Well, good, excellent. Any of your other business ventures you guys talked about or anything, or is that all pretty tight?
Yeah, I really don't have any other business ventures
Okay.
right now. I'm
Okay. So good. Well, I'm glad we met up, and
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
We were talking about meeting up, and then an hour or so beforehand, he's like, "I got this airbag leaking, man." So I said, "Well, stop and get one, and we'll throw that airbag on for you too." So we made a video about that. We'll have that out too, and saved a little bit of money there. And then, you know, that kind of thing, time too. You know, you might have to wait 4, 5, 6 hours to get in the shop at the TA when you walk in and they see nobody in the shop bay, and you say, "How long is your wait?" And they say about 14 hours, and you look out and you're like, well, "There's nobody in there."
yeah.
So we knocked that out in about what, a half hour or so.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah, that went really well. So, well, thanks for coming on, and
Yeah,
glad to
no,
meet you,
thanks
and
for helping
I
me
wish
with
you all-
everything, and
wish you all the best on your ventures there. So,
no, you'll be seeing us on the load board, that's for sure. We're going to be a contender.
all right. Well, I don't know what kind of rates you all out there are going to get from them, but I'm going to make sure I get all the preferential rates and the best loads. And then we'll just put the leftover garbage out on the load board for everybody else, right?
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
All right.